Yes.
Any questions? Jason?
Hey Joe, thanks for being here.
Okay, sure.
I'm Keller Williams, but I was just curious, when you made the move from the Remax brand to Keller, was it based on, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of factors, but was one of the bigger factors the fact that we're more team-friendly, or did you just feel like the ceiling was lower, or at Remax, or can you kind of talk about that decision?
Definitely not the ceiling lower. I don't go for lower ceilings.
No, at the other brand, I mean, like you feel like there was more opportunity at Keller?
Well, there's a lot of things. When back in 2009, I had my Remax franchise. 2010 would have been 20 years. I own the brand too. I own the franchise rather. And I said, and my agents were having to leave, and and they were leaving because the market was going down. You all experienced the market going down too, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and they were having to decide whether to pay me that $1,000 or $1,500 a month, or their mortgage. It wasn't because of me. It's just that they were trying to decide. I had a very loyal group. I had about 100 people, and it got down to about 65 people. And Remax, and I paid Remax in 2009 $200-something thousand, right around $250,000, and I had made no money. And so they wanted me to renew for another 5 years of that. And I said, well, I'm basically collecting money for you, and I'm not getting anything. No, I'm not going to do that. And so I started looking on a journey for something that was better for my agents and myself. I started looking for something that was more education-based, because my agents were still stuck in the old days when they were just taking orders, and they needed more education. So I started looking at that. I started looking for something that had more of a flexible commission schedule and everything else. And I remember this little company that put me in their MREA book and flew me down and showed me more recognition as a competitor than my own company showed me as their #1 guy in the world. And I called them and said, hey, let me talk to Gary, please. And that's how it started. And then Mark Willis came down and said, he came down and saw me and said, okay, love to have you. What's it going to take? I said, well, I need something that's very education-based for my agents, because they're not changing with the market, which they need to. And he said, I can do that. I said, well, I need something that's more of a flexible commission schedule where they don't have to pay this $1,000 or $1,500 a month, because they're losing their houses, everything. He says, I can do that. And I'm not doing a good Mark imitation of this guy.
Sounds like Mark now.
And I said, okay, that's good. I said, well, I know this is asking a lot, but I want a real estate franchise that can make me money. Is that okay? He says, absolutely, I could do that too. I said, okay, but there's a catch. I don't want to run the real estate company anymore. I hate dealing with real estate agents. I've dealt with them for 20 years now, and they chase me to the bathroom, okay? They follow me to the bathroom to ask me questions. I can't do it anymore, okay? And I just can't run the office. And he said, I could do that too. I said, oh, this is interesting. And I said, well, I'd like something that profit shares with my agents too, because I have a title company that profit shares with my agents. Can you do that? I got that too. The thing that I didn't, and I told him I'm in. Okay, you have a deal. And that's 4 years ago. And the thing I didn't realize is the culture, which is amazing. I focused on God, family, business first, and God first, spiritual, family, then business, because I had it wrong all those years. And I still struggle with it all the time. But it cost me some key relationships that, marriage and everything else, because you think, at least this is what I thought. My dad used to work and put food on the table every time, all the time. And they say the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. He was never home, and I always put food on the table for my family. I always worked really hard. I worked probably 80 to 100 hours. How many people in here work long hours, like that kind of hours? Be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful. If I do nothing else today, hopefully I'll save your relationship, because it cost me mine. It cost me an 18-year. Cost me a 7-year, because they only wanted me. Yeah. And I thought I was doing my job of putting food on the table. So now I've got my priorities in order. I probably work about 40 hours a week. I've got great people, but that's one of the most amazing. That's one of the most amazing things that Keller Williams taught me, is to keep my priorities in order. Don't answer the phone at dinner time.
Yeah.
Don't answer the phone when you're out at lunch with your significant other. It makes them feel unimportant. So these are some of the things that I've learned from, just putting my priorities in order. And that's one of the great things that Keller Williams did for me. And don't work in as many hours. Yes, I saw you raise your hand. And just, because you got to have your priorities in order. Keep them in order, or it can really mess up your life. I speak from experience. Hopefully I can share that with you so you don't do the same thing. The other great thing it taught me is it taught me, I don't know if you all have taken this, but this is am I talking too much?
No.
Keep talking.
Okay. The other great thing it taught me was you only need 3 to 5 wealth builders in your life. Wealth builders, wealth determiners. Have you all heard this before?
Mm-hmm.
In order to be done for the rest of your life. So I have 4 wealth determiners, and like when I used to hire, I think I told you this yesterday, Terry. When I used to hire, I hired. Here's the way I hired. I know you want this job, and I know I want you, and I know you're going to tell me anything I want to hear to get this job. Okay, so I called it fog and mirror. If they fogged a mirror, I'd hire them. I'm just going to hire you, and either you make it or you don't, because I know you're just going to tell me what I want to hear, and I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. So you're hired. That was my whole hiring process. And if they didn't work out, I just fire them. I mean, I'm a very cut and dry guy. Get to the point. I'm always trying to get to the point. I lived in New York, and I lived in Texas, and I lived in Florida. And usually in the South, they do things a little slower than the North. And I just want to actually pull things out of people that they're trying to say to me. Get to the point. But the ABA is amazing, because what it does is it teaches you to find those right people. And if you haven't done an ABA, how many of y'all have done an ABA in here? Oh wow, that's good. Okay, do you use it to validate your key hires? Do you use it to recruit your key hires? Okay, so now I actually spend 2 hours going over someone's validation with them and talking to them, which is really hard for me, by the way. I have attention deficit disorder. I just want to talk to them and say, okay, you're hired, but I don't do that. I sit there and get to know them, and then we decide, and it's helped me not make some hires that I would have hired them anyways. I would have hired them before. I said, this ABA is telling me that you're not the right person for the job, so I'm sorry. Even though you seem great to me, gotta go. But anyway, so now I have a critical person running my title company. He's my CEO of my title company. I spend about an hour a week talking to him, and my whole goal is to help him be as successful as possible. He didn't meet his goals for this year so far, so we had a really fierce conversation this past week. But I mean, I spent about an hour a week talking to him, and that company will make about $1 million net this year. He's forecasted 1.6, but I don't think he's going to hit it. But I'm a numbers guy, so I'm drilling on the numbers. My CEO that runs my Rothchild team, I spend about an hour a week with her. I spend about an hour a week with my 2 team leaders that run my market centers, and then I'm looking for, so I've got 4 wealth builders, and I'm looking for one to run my commercial division right now, because I had one that went out ill, and she's not coming back, so I'm looking for one. So I'm 1 hire to me away from retirement, the 7th level. So I mean, I'm just showing you how I've done it, not to say I'm all that, but to show you can do that. We spend so much time working in our businesses, but we don't spend a lot of time working on our businesses to focus on how we can do better. And I have to leading into my turkey story. Is it okay if I tell my turkey story? I've already told you. You all want to hear my turkey story, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the turkey story. Do you know that a turkey is so dumb that it looks up when it's raining out, and it can drown in its own nostrils because it just keeps looking up, and it drowns because it doesn't know to look back down again and let the water out. That's how dumb turkeys are. Isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. And I read that somewhere when I was a kid, but I remembered the turkey story. And so I went up to a house one day, and you know how you have these epiphany moments? You just have this like, whoa, this is weird. So I went to knock on a door of a house one night. I used to go on 4 or 5 listing appointments a day.
Wow.
3 to 5, 4 to 6. On a Saturday, I'd hit maybe 5, 6, 7. I'd hit 5 or 6 on a Saturday. Okay, but I mean, that's how regimented I was. And so I went and knocked on a door one night, and I heard the people inside laughing. And I said, oh, that sounds nice. and I smelled the food coming out because they were just cooking dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that smells nice. And I'm there for a listing appointment, right? So I'm knocking on the door. I'm on the outside of the door. All this is happening inside. And I'm thinking, wow, I kind of wish this was me inside instead of outside, right? And I looked up, and it was raining. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the turkey. You know, so every time I went on a listing appointment, I'd call my wife at the time or girlfriend later and say, hey, I'm going turkeying, you know. But I didn't want turkey the rest of my life. I realized that you could only be a turkey so long,
Wow.
and I didn't want to be the turkey anymore. So I figured out other ways to create income streams to where when I didn't want turkey anymore, I didn't have to. Because that's the thing, we're not focusing on our business. We're so busy in it that we don't take time to reflect on it to create other income streams to make sure we don't have to turkey anymore, because you're not going to be able to turkey the rest of your lives. You're going to have to do something else. So anyway, that's my turkey story.